Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live Authortube panel with my friends Jenna and Shannon. I'm calling this an Auth panel, short for Authortube panel, and there's a skull because I'm a wannabe goth. So I hope someone thinks that's funny. Anyway, so here we are today with our indie author panel. I'm going to ask these two lovely authors to introduce their channel and genre, and it's kind of in the title, so you'll get a little flavor of what is to come, and then we'll launch into some questions. So, Jenna, you want to go first?
Sure will. I'm Jenna O'Malley, also known as The Soul Writer. On YouTube, I run Listening to the Voices in Our Heads, which is an interview of creative minds and their creative processes. I also do Sitting Down with Soul Writer. It's kind of vlog-like. And then Fiction in 5 would be my book review series, where you get 5 minutes split between the writer's POV and the reader's POV. And of course, as the night says, I write paranormal romance, light and clean, with a blend of fantasy.
Nice. Okay, fantasy. Thank you. And Shannon, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name S.D. Huston, and my channel name is for my pen name, S.D. Huston. I have videos, some on writing, although I've kind of moved away from that after I started publishing my books. I'm kind of doing behind the scenes with my marketing, my sales figures, and everything like that. And I do plan to get back to some writing videos here in the next month or two, depending on how everything falls out. I think I've kind of said it in a couple of different places, but my dad is having complications with cancer, and I'm going to be helping out with my parents' liquor store. So my time is going to be really limited even more in the next month.
Mm-hmm. All right. So welcome to both of you. Thanks for coming on the channel for this month's Authortube panel. My first question is, knowing that you guys both write fantasy of quite different flavors, is this your first love of writing? And I may know the answer to that, but let's start with Shannon.
So is fantasy my first love of writing? Yeah. So my very first book was fantasy, the very first one I wrote, and it was contemporary fantasy actually, but I quickly veered away from that to fantasy was set in less contemporary settings. Yeah.
Cool. How about you, Jenna?
For me, I was the quintessential nerd since high school. I read the Forgotten Realms novels, Drizzt Do'Urden, Elminster, and then in high school, I started reading Anne Rice and J.R. Ward, and the love of vampires began.
Nice. Okay. So it took a turn.
A very quick and very dark turn, and never went back.
All right. What is your favorite genre to read versus write? I'm often asked about writing, and I always say I write historical fiction because it's the genre I most like to read. And so that's how I got into it, because that's the one I knew most and enjoyed the most. So is that true for you, or did you have a different way in? Jenna.
I was going to say, was that for me or Shannon? Just making sure. Sorry. Yes, but with the caveat of I just fell in love with thriller and crime novels for the first time last summer.
Oh, okay.
So completely different track all over again.
Is it going to sneak into your writing?
I think it already has.
Oh, okay.
I'm considering adding a dark fantasy genre change, because it depends on how book 3 ends.
Exciting. All right. And Shannon?
So for me, I have always liked to write epic fantasy. And of course, I'm published in YA, which I still wonder if I should be there. And for my next series, I'm going to go back to my epic fantasy. So, yeah, but I was, I have a girlfriend that I graduated with our MFAs in creative writing. And she started publishing about almost 5 years ago now. And she pushed me every year. But she's read my writing, and she's like, you need to put this as YA. You have coming of age characters. You fit right in. And I think back, and I got an editor as well. And she said, I asked her, I said, what do you think? Is this, adult or YA? And she says, well, I think you should take advantage of the YA market. And I've been thinking about that seriously, because this was all back like 2017, 2018, when this advice was being given to me, which YA was booming at that time. So I think that might have been the push for it. And now epic fantasy is booming. It's had a 58% increase in sales over the last 12 months due to things like Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, The Witcher. So I'm like, I should have just stuck with fantasy. I'd be booming.
Yeah. Hard to know. Yeah. Oh boy. All right. What do you read to get away from the stuff you're writing about? So if you're gonna take a departure from fantasy, what do you read to get away and not think about structure and expectations and all that stuff?
Shannon, you want to go first?
Sure, I will go first. I was trying to craft my answer on this one because if I'm not reading fantasy, I'm usually reading nonfiction, and it's not the level of like what you read, Margaret. I read more nonfiction, like historical documents. So since I've been into the Irish mythologies, I'll go back and I'll reread the translations to see what else I can pull out and find out more. Because the translations, you have the Gaelic Irish, and then you have Middle Irish and Current Irish, and so the translations would be into you get different things depending which Irish you read it in. And so I like comparing the documents and seeing what people translate. So that's what I usually read when I'm not reading fantasy.
Wow. See, we discover all different types of nerds here.
Yeah, really.
I could not do that. Wow. Okay, very cool.
For me, it's a little bit of the same depending on what novel research needs done, but unrelated to that, I teach grades 6 through 12. So I'm often reading school appropriate. Do we need to add this to our inventory for the next school year? Things of that nature. So if we get a new book list like we did this spring, we were told, here's 10 books. You need to read all of them and give us a reason why we should pay for all the kids to have ebooks of 2. And I'm like, okay, push back the TBR by a month. So a lot of my non-author or non-for-me related reading would be for my kids.
Got it. All right. So that's a good way to balance, get a little variety. Who writes the best Fae characters? I think we've got some opposite opinions here. Shannon, go ahead.
Oh, me? And we were talking about this one a little bit backstage. So I got into researching the Fae because that when I asked my girlfriend, hey, what's currently good in the market? And she said, hey, Fae. And so I started researching it. And then I quickly went into the Irish mythology because that was the origins of the Fae. And so I didn't really read a whole lot of Fae. But the first 2 books that I read, the first one was the Cruel Prince, or actually I think this was the second one. And then the first one is the one that I sent you the picture of, Margaret,
right.
Which was My Fair Assassin. Yeah. So yeah, those are the 2 that I read. I like the Cruel Prince better than My Fair Assassin. But if I was to say the original Fae stories.
Yes, because those are ones I'm familiar with.
Glitching here.
It's okay.
Jenna, if you want to go ahead and do yours, I'll come back on
mine. Sure. First of all, tech gremlins, go away. We banish you. Also, for me, it's definitely going to be, I like the old school stuff. Like back to Tolkien, old school stuff. But I also recall a series I read as a teenager by Herbie Brennan, the Fairy Wars saga. Loved it. It was very upper middle grade, approachable, depending on the maturity level of the student involved, put it that way, because there's some light kissing and stuff. But it was very typical to the tropes, chosen one story, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. All right, so original Fae stories. So this is by compiled by W.B. Yeats, the Book of Fairy and Folktales of Ireland.
Yes.
Now he says he went around Ireland and he collected these stories from the people.
Okay.
Years later, came out, he made up a lot of the stories.
He's one of the greatest liars.
Yes.
He's obviously kissed the Blarney Stone. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And this was he was from 19th century. When was this published? Does it say? 1892 is when it was first published. So, yep.
I had a college course on that very book.
Oh, you did?
I loved it. Cool. I loved it. I was an English major, so yeah, loved it.
Very cool. Just Diva saying I picked Tolkien too.
Yay! Legolas is my house elf. Anyway.
Maybe all I've read is read with Faye. Lauren Adele says, sorry, it's slow coming up here. Melissa Mars Faye Stirred. I don't know that one. I don't know a lot of these, but
I've heard of this one. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
Olivia,
that's on the TBR for me.
All right, awesome. Getting good recommendations here. Thank you. Who writes the best Fae characters? Ooh, okay. Do these have particular characters you want to call out too? What did you just say, Jenna, about elf?
Legolas is my house elf.
Okay, so that's mixing two fandoms. So I don't know if that's
a friend of mine in high school had that on a t-shirt. That's where I got it from. I have no clue where she got the t-shirt from. Probably like FYE, Spencer, something, you know, like a mall store.
Yeah.
It's stuck ever since. Sorry.
Yeah. Just like thinking about the characters that I've read and what makes them Fae and what's interesting about that portrayal. I think for me, when I read a character that's Fae, what's often pointed at the most, and sometimes it gets annoying, is how shifting they are and how like they can change their mood. It's for sometimes no reason. And sometimes that feels like a bit of a cheat for the author because they don't have to like back up their motivation, you know? But
it's
uses a plot device.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I decided to, you know, turn around and do something even though you don't deserve it. But of course, that's what they're known for in the ancient tales. So, yes. Eva says mixing fandoms is how writers write. It's fine. Yeah.
Is there anything original anymore, honestly?
And Wicked Lively. I think it's Wicked Lovely. Actually, I've seen that on my friend's shelf. Wicked Lovely by Melissa Marr. Thank you, Lauren. Eva says,
actually,
vampires into the Fae realm. I pay so little attention to the rules.
So check out my books, just
add in the old Irish stories, there are vampires. So they were part of the Fae realm. And I mean, you're talking about hundreds of years old here.
Isn't Bram Stoker from Ireland?
No.
He's as good as Yates when it comes to the lies.
No. The vampires are slightly different. I mean, they don't turn into bats and stuff, but they do drink blood.
And like drain your life and soul out of you more so than your physical.
Right. Bram Stoker is an Irish author.
Oh, but he never went to Transylvania like he claimed he did.
Oh, I for some reason I was thinking you meant the story.
Oh yeah.
No. The author.
I don't know about the actual author. So
he is Irish. His story is not, and he never actually.
No, that's what I was saying. I was thinking, no, the story is not. It's not Irish. So yeah, he probably was influenced too by the legends and the very Fae tales.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. All right.
I think there's two particular stories. One is about a female vampire, and one's about a male vampire, but I can't recall the entire story. But
that's the one I'm trying to think of the name of too, and I can't.
Yeah.
Is that how we got our thoughts about vampires, do you think? Like,
it's possible. And like, even you can't kill them. You have to like bury them upside down and stuff like that to be able to kill them. Yeah.
Chop their head off or burn them or something. Like there's
I think they did that. They burned one, I think. I don't remember. But I was thinking they burned one and he came back.
Yes. There's a couple of different stories out of Ireland of I'm thinking of the ones that came out particularly around pox and plague outbreaks, where they literally would dig up the body, take out the heart and the brain, and separate it because everybody else in the house got sick with the same thing. It was a disease. And they just didn't understand germ theory yet. But a lot of your like Eastern European
why did I keep
models.
glitching?
Oh,
I don't know why I moved too fast and it glitches on me.
Is your wire loose or disconnecting?
No, it's a brand new camera. It's just been doing this ever since I've had it.
Ooh,
that's the Iron Druid Chronicles. The one that
okay. So Lauren just mentioned Iron Druid has a lot of Celtic mythology too. And
I haven't gotten very far, and this is like 6 months of trying to read it.
It's a dense read.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's a very dense read.
Good to know. And Eva said she was also an English major, but that was a total guess. I had no idea vampires were officially fake. I don't know if there's anything official about it, but I do like that there's strands going in and out, and the roots may have intertwined at some point.
I think the Christopher Lee movies kind of playing off the Bram Stoker Dracula too much ruined us on that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the next question I have is about your book. So why don't I get you guys to both introduce your book series world a little bit, and then we can dive into a second round.
Oh, thanks.
Shannon, you have to go first.
You just had a book come out. You should go first, Shannon.
See if I can grab this without moving too much so my camera don't wonk out. Okay, that works. So I am writing YA fantasy at this time, and I have 2 books out. The first one is Blood of the Lily that came out last year, November, and Soul of a Rose just came out earlier this month. And these are YA fantasies that are, the first one has some basis in the Irish mythology. I use one of their origins of leprechauns in the story. And then the second one is just more inspired. I don't use anything specific from the Irish tales. It's just inspired by what's there because my location, the main location in Techune, is the House of Dawn, who's the god of the dead. And that's all you know. You don't know what Techune looks like. It's an otherworld. It's the place where the people go when they die. So everything I just made up from there.
Very cool. There we go. How do you spell Techune?
So Tech,
TCH.
and then the second word is DUINN.
Techune. Cool. Okay. I can't repeat something unless I could see it. So I'm so visual.
Thank you for saying that. Having read your books, I'm like, how's this word said? Thank you.
Well, I try to use Munster sounds when I can find them. Munster is the south west of Ireland, which is where my story takes place. And so I try to use that when I can find it. But there are many regions and each one will say it differently. So there's really, I don't know that there's a wrong way, but man, I will listen to 6 different pronunciations and they'll all be slightly different.
Yep.
I understand that issue.
Yeah. Munster, Leinster, Ulster, and
Connacht.
Thank you.
Thank you. Has that quiz question out there for all the Irisophiles. We had some chat. I'm going to catch up on here. Anita says, vampire lore is very widespread, takes a lot of different forms. Eva said, Anne Rice gets credit for modern day vampire depictions because she's the first to do it well. And Jenna replied in the chat here that it's probably because she's the first to do it with the Smexy Times, who popularized.
Yeah, who popularized.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, Jenna, can you tell us what your books are centered around and give us a preview?
Sure. I am the author who always picks the difficult to say series names, such as the Arsinoe Forest Alliance. I'll say that again, Arsinoe Forest. It's based on the name of it's based on an Egyptian pharaoh, Arsinoe, who was the murdered sister of Cleopatra. Yes, that Cleopatra. And the tale follows her great-granddaughter, who is the last female full-blooded vampire through time. My books do overlap historical fantasy and the clean PNR, so no Smexy Times in my books, but plenty of romance with action, because what warrior doesn't want to come home, male or female or otherwise, and cuddle with their beloved? Book 2, oh my God, just won an award. Best book of the year for best book editors, and it is my first werewolf main POV for the love interest, werewolf x vampire together. So blending the tropes is what that series does.
Have you read Gail Carriger? Okay. I'm like, there's blending, and I'm like, I'm getting lots of Gail Carriger vibes. Yay! I love her.
She's amazing.
Yeah. I went to an event outside Portland a few years ago now when she was there, and she was just so much fun. The way she dresses, all the blog posts she has on how to pack all your cosplay outfits for a conference, and I was like, yes, please. She's really, really cool.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so the next question is best magic or superpower that you've given someone in one of your books.
Do you want the easy answer? The
Sure.
easy answer is astral dream weaving. The fun answer is my bards. I brought music back as magic to PNR, I think. So
Yeah, I don't think I've had any music as magic in paranormal romance in any of the books I've read. It does remind me of the Dragon Harpers of Pern, though.
Yep.
The Ireland series. I really liked that one. So that was good.
There's going to be a character in the future, if you know what Dragon Bones is, and Dragon Magic is related to doing, or Dragon Beats, I believe it is. That might sound a little bit familiar. It's kind of harkening back to that end of my childhood. So all the references.
Love it. Okay, so musical. I like it. Shanon?
So the Irish gods and goddesses, their powers are never broken down. They change shape. They can usually get from place to place pretty fast. So I wanted to do something that was related to the Morgan's powers of, it says only in one document, but it says that she pulls on earth, air, and water. Fire's never mentioned. So I thought, okay, the three girls in my book, one will talk to land animals, one will talk to sky animals, and one will talk to water animals. So they're like each one of each. So that was something I made up.
That's really cool. And that's for the three sisters that you were talking about?
Yeah, in my books. So, but they also have the other powers, but they don't, they haven't, I kind of explain it very, very little. It's just a kind of one little explanation in the second book, and the third book comes more in where they awaken their inner goddess. They don't know they're goddesses. So then they can change form and they can go to different places quickly and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Turn around and open the door to a new world, for example. Yeah. Oh, all the cool stuff. Eva's saying the AA, which I'm not sure what that is. And then the Forest series, trying to decide how I would say it because I'm not sure I can say that word.
Forest series?
Arsinoe Forest. I think I got one syllable wrong.
You're really close. That's one of the two ways to pronounce it. Yep. I normally just put TAA, book number, title.
Hope you love it. Lauren Adele saying, I feel you, Jenna, when researching Greek Niji. I like how to say some of the lesser known deities.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Eva said both of your books start with a B. I'm doing an ABCTBR. Oh, fight for dominance. Who's gonna get the slot? D. Cody Stitt saying Dragon Drums. I think that was one of the books that was in the series that I referenced. Yeah. Richard stopping in to say hello. Hello, Richard.
Go to sleep.
Go to sleep. Cheesecake Man to the rescue. I don't know the Cheesecake Man reference.
That is my husband. He is known as Cody the Cheesecake Man. He's bombing chat to be supportive. He makes made to order cheesecakes. Literally, you think of a candy bar or whatever flavor you want, he'll turn it into a cheesecake.
Snickers?
Yes.
Oh,
nice.
I think he's done that one already.
Comment.
Almond Joy.
Yes, that's the popular right now.
Toasted almonds, which was something I heard about earlier.
That's a drink. Yeah.
It's a drink. Yeah.
I was trying to make a glass before tonight, but it didn't happen. So I was just extra nervous.
You're getting that, and I got coffee. We're such an interesting blend.
And I got a burrito. So, between us, we make a meal.
There we go.
Oh, burritos.
Wait, and then her husband brings the dessert.
Yeah.
There you go.
I pretty much owned up that anywhere I go, I'm going to have to just bring a cheesecake if I meet anybody. So let me know what you don't like.
To the world. I like it.
Thank
you. Okay, how about tropes in the genres and subgenres that you inhabit? What is your favorite trope in your favorite subgenre of fantasy? Jenna, why don't you go first this time? And then I'm going to ask you your least favorite trope in your least favorite subgenre. So get that ready in your back pocket.
I don't like to admit this one. Apparently, according to my editor, I have an issue with parents and kids. The whole I don't get along, that's the stepmom. They treat me mean. kind of trope.
An estrangement between parents and kids?
Yeah.
I think it's adults as adversaries.
There you go.
Unofficial name, huh?
Yes, it does.
So that's the trope I apparently go to again and again. My series I started during NaNoWriMo had it, and so does the Alliance in Spades. Genre? I don't think I have one yet. Question mark? Ask me in 10 years.
Subgenre? It sounded like you did.
Subgenre? Really, truly, ask me in 10 years. I can't decide. I have 3 listed here, and I can't decide.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
So,
Hannah, what do you think?
The question is favorite trope and favorite subgenre.
Yeah.
So I guess my my favorite subgenre would be coming of age, because that's what I tend to write in mostly. Curiously, it's not my favorite trope though. My favorite trope, I actually wrote a little bit here. The outsider. So I love this trope. I don't know why, but it's like, the protagonist who struggles to conform. Actually, I say I don't know why. I think I do, because I always feel like the outsider. Everywhere I go, I feel like I'm the outsider. I don't fit in anywhere. So I think that's why I gravitate to that one.
Yeah, I like that too. That one a lot. I think I like the ones where people are fighting for justice. I don't know what kind of trope that's called, but the ones where it's not necessarily their own, like someone's committed a crime against them, but it's someone else and they go to bat for them and whatnot. So yeah.
Not quite social justice-y, but balance injustice, question mark?
Yeah, like standing up for someone, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or finding one's purpose and standing up for a cause instead of folding. Or what were you
teaching term would be engaging bystander. I don't think that applies here though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, instead of conforming.
Right.
Hero trope. Yeah, Eva's got it. That's probably what it's called.
In general, hero trope.
Yeah, we love a hero. We love a hero here. What about least favorite?
Do you want me to go first this time?
Sure.
Yeah, because this one makes me mad.
So the only reason why I really knew that, like, the one she was talking about has a name is because I had to go look up names to see what is it that I don't like, or which one did I like, because I don't know all the names just off the top of my head. Adults as adversaries is my least favorite. Only because a lot of the YA books that I read where the adults are adversaries, or even what you see on TV, it depicts adults as stupid and not making the right choices. So
disengaged, unconnected. Yeah.
Which I can understand that a population of the adult population would be like that, but not every single one. And I'm not saying that all of them are bad, but I just see it too often done that way, that I'd rather see it as, the parents, they have a legitimate reason for what they're doing. The kids just don't understand because they want to do what they want to do, and they feel strongly about what they want to do, and they think they're right, and it's just a conflict. Right. I like that idea. Right.
You can see that they're both the main characters of their own story. It's not like the minor character is just facing the other direction because it's like they have a goal, they have a trajectory, and it makes sense. Yeah. Sounds good.
I guess mine kind of does not make sense. It's kind of does go hand in hand with my favorite, but not. Unresolved trauma, regardless of happily ever after status being present or not. That's probably just personal life coming through. You got to resolve the trauma. You got to bring it full circle for me. Or I'm looking at the book going, well, that ending kind of
stifling.
Disney-fied it? Question mark?
Do you mean that the story has trauma happen to a character and then they don't get to work it out by the end?
Correct. And it's just magically all better because the story's over. No, I can't buy that. Sorry.
Or that they find their love and that makes it all better.
Yeah, no musical numbers for a romance to start and end, please. Thanks, Disney. I love Disney. That's the one thing I don't like about them.
And we do love musical numbers, so.
Yes.
Yes, and Cheesecake Man was just saying Avengers literally, so called it. Obviously, we need a new trope called the Avengers trope. So yeah, I do like those movies. They're fun. Just Eva saying anything with... Sorry, that's my outside. You can probably hear that big truck gunning itself down the road. Anything to do with romance, maybe my least favorite. Interesting. I usually do like romance and fantasy. I think we're going to name the dreaded ACOTAR later down the road. So I'll hear that I've read it and enjoyed it, and then got enough into the series that I realized I can't really enjoy it without guilt, but that's fine. Whatever. Subgenre. So Eva says, that was my childhood. The adults didn't make great decisions.
Same here.
Yeah. They did their best, of course, but sitting in midlife looking back, their best wasn't great. What about the spouse makes up the difference for the family conflict and generational trauma? Is that a trope?
I don't know if it's blown up into a subgenre yet. Question mark?
I'm not aware of this one. I mean, I don't know if it exists or doesn't exist. I don't know enough information.
Okay.
My students have read a lot of stories that involve that as like an episodic part of the story, but not the whole focus of the story, put it that way.
Interesting. All right. So I had a question that sort of came to me that needed explaining, so I will try to explain it to the audience as well. How many traditions can you braid together before it turns into a muddle? And by this, I mean, since fantasy often uses different folklores from cultures and uses that as their source material, sometimes they will mix them, such as werewolves and vampires, or vampires and fae, or, you know, vampires and Sasquatch, I don't know, whatever your pick is. But how many of those can you bring together before it starts to have no sort of common ground or coherence and turns into a big muddle? And what have you guys thought about this as you jumped into your books? Shanon wants to go first.
Okay. So my published work is just all Irish mythology. I say that like I'm using mostly, but I have some Greek figures coming in. It comes in more heavily in the third book, but that's not out yet. But I, you know, I have like a one that shows up in the first book, and then she's a viewpoint in the second book, and there are a couple others added. But in my epic fantasy, my baby, that I'll probably release that one of these years. I did bring in lots of different traditions. I don't really go the paranormal route as much. So I kind of see like vampires and werewolves, and they kind of fall more under paranormal. But however, having found out that vampires existed way back when in Irish mythology, I'm thinking, wow, okay, maybe I can include some of that. But, you know, I wrote a, I think it's like 60,000 words book of the history of my land. So everything from the culture that made up each city, their commerce, their government, their religions, everything. And I pulled from everything around the world for each of my civilizations.
Wow.
So
you have your own history of Hogwarts, like tome.
Yes. And nice. I just go back to what I was influenced by was the Wheel of Time series, okay? Because I knew that a lot of it was on the Arthurian legend, and you also have some other ones. And now after reading about the Irish mythology, well, the Aes Sedai, those are based on the Aes She, which are Irish. Those are the most powerful beings. So that's what the Irish gods and goddesses became, were the Aes She. So, you know, he brings a lot of different things into his world and makes it all fit. And he even takes fiction work, because the Aes Sedai are also kind of based off of like the Bene Gesserits from the Dune series. So, yeah. I don't know if it ever becomes a muddle. I haven't seen it ever not done well. Maybe mine's a muddle, but I don't know.
The Wheel of Time is basically like a big stew pot of other standby. Yes. Interesting. Yes. I haven't read it.
It's got a lot in there.
Nice.
It's an amazing series. I love that series so much. And I keep forgetting about it. Thanks for reminding me of it, 3 times now tonight? Yeah, I saw that too.
Oh, wow. Inspired by religious stories and religious. Huh. Very cool. Okay, Jenna.
For me, mine's a definite blend of fae and of paranormal. What mine is, it's an alliance. There's 5 different cultures. You have cat shifters, werewolves, vampires, and then we have legitimate light fae and dark fae, and then we have people that are what we call dragonkins. They have dragon blood in their ancestry. So for mine, it's kind of like the Iroquois nation of fae and paranormal romance. A little bit is kind of where I got the idea of a knitted council coming together for the sake of their own survival. So muddle, lots of muddle. Like Ernest Cline and Ready Player One, there's at least one reference per page in my books. So yeah, I kid you not. I counted book 1 and there's at least one reference per page. So
to a different tradition, or
to a different tradition, to a different culture, to a literary reference, a historical person. And part of it's the time period mine are set in. 1665 is where we pick up. So
okay. So another question just occurred to me. Is it necessary in faedom, in fiction faedom, for a fae to have pointy ears? Is that like canon? Is it universally acknowledged that a fae must have pointy ears?
Some of it is genetic. How fae are they? Are they a halfling, a changeling, or a full blood? I kid you not. That's my automatic question.
That's a D&D thing, though, isn't it?
Like, all of the fae that I've read now, that's published, they all have pointy ears. But in their histories, in the origin stories of fae, pointy ears is never anything that was mentioned.
You would mistake them as a human if that's what they wanted to charm you into believing.
Well, I mean, they don't really describe the Tuatha De Danann, but they the only thing they say, they're tall, 6 to 8 feet tall, light colored hair, light colored eyes, and they have powers. That's all. I think that if they had pointy ears, they would have put that in the stories. So I don't know where the pointy ears came from. I think that was just tacked on somewhere in history. It was tacked on.
Where is that?
I blame Tolkien because of his if you look into the overlay of what he researched as far as Irish history and the implications of World War I and World War II, that it could be possibly the overlay backdrop of Tolkien, I blame him for the pointy ears. Sorry, Legolas.
Maybe that's like the Norse mythology has some pointy-eared people.
But he did that with the elves, which there aren't really elves in the Irish mythologies.
Right, and that's what I'm wondering, if elves became a branch off of, and therefore it became a trait confusion, ?
Or it came from a different culture. I don't know.
Interesting.
I haven't looked at the background of the elves specifically, so I don't know.
I have research this weekend now. Thanks.
Fairy tale inspired folklores within the story. And then Lauren and Adele saying dragons. Are there dragons in it, Jenna, or just people with dragon ancestry?
The answer at this point is yes, because book 2 is where we find out more about the actual dragon king, the dragon clans. So I don't know if I'm going to drop a dragon in this series. In my series Vitae Elangica, yes, there is a dragon they actually fight.
I have one dragon in my series. So he shows up. He's a partner to Lou. It's Pashta, which is the last dragon of Ireland. And he comes back in the second and third book.
Nice.
Oh, he's in the third? Yes.
Yes.
Very cool. Jenna, this is the first time I've been on screen with you, so I'm going to ask if you've heard of Melanie Ron. Everyone I've asked has never heard of her.
Could you repeat?
Melanie Ron.
Yes.
Okay, because she has really cool books that I grew up on in junior high, and she's got dragons and smexy times, and I just thought it was so good, and then she had a collapse and has been in depression and came back with books that were not it for me. So yeah, but those books, Dragon Prince, definitely.
Yes. I played D&D as a teenager. My D&D friends got me into reading those books.
Mm-hmm. Anita is helping us out here with elves and pointy ears may have snuck in through the Norse settlements in Ireland and Scotland, and they're thereby Tolkien's world as well.
Gotcha. There you go.
Nice. All right. If you were a character in your world, what would your name be? How do you make your names? How do you come up with them? How do you make them consistent? Do you have any advice for other people, or just how you did it? You can go either way.
Did you want to go first, Shannon?
Oh, I can. My name is Irish.
I was going to say
Not
my full
spelled
name
that
is
way.
Jennifer.
Not spelled that way. Whoops.
Well, it did change to the spelling. Well, my name is totally different because my mom decided that 2 N's was hard in cursive. So she dropped it in.
As someone with 2 N's, it is hard.
Yeah. So it was originally spelled SionAINN. And it was, that still says Shanon. Yeah, I'll put it in chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you put that in? Because I was gonna do it, and then I had a pop up about screen sharing that thwarted me, and now it's no longer in my head.
It would be pronounced similar to Siobhan would be today, is the equivalent I'm thinking of. It's
No, it was still.
It's its own name. Yeah.
It still says Shanon. When you in Irish, it's Shanon.
Oh, well, I meant the beginning opening because Siobhan spells the opening the same. Gotcha.
Siobhan is SIOB.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. The SIO is the same.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this is Shanon.
Shanon.
So it's still the same. Yeah. Now my makeup world, I'd probably go with like something like Estrella because my main culture is based on Latin culture, and Estrella means star, which my name was almost Starla, but my mom chose Starla and Shanon, and my dad got to choose.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have either one of those in your books?
No, which would be good if I put myself in there. Yep, I'd be unique.
Yeah.
Aren't a little bit of us on all of our characters supposedly?
But not named. Yeah, we're not that transparent about it.
Yeah, no.
How about you, Jenna?
Similar. My full name, it would be converted down to Jenny. Ugh. Sorry, only my grandmother's allowed to call me that. But it would be Jenny or Genevieve, Guinevere, or something very similar because they're all back to that kind of origin of Celtic Irish base. But for my world, there is a rule when you come into the Alliance as a new person and you get initiated in. The rule is names are what other people give you. So you have a name bestowed upon you. And sometimes it's more like a part of your name. For example, the main character Christian in book 1 becomes Ian, the last 3 letters of his name, because he told the story of how that's what my little sister called me, and I've lost my little sister. So kind of to honor his family bond, they say, we will call you Ian, just like she did, if you would like us to. So it very much goes into the name fits the person. It's a little bit cultural based. Ian is Scottish. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Rochelle, she's from northern France, has that L to it. Neftiri's from Egypt. So I go a little bit with what the cultural context makes sense. Look at census data. If you want to make sure you have a really good name from a particular time period, that helps out a lot, especially if you're writing historical.
Very cool. I like looking at census data, or not necessarily census data, but
names related.
From a hotel, from people who went to a meeting or whatever. I like looking at names together too. I put my name, so in Scots Gaelic at least, and in Irish Gaelic I think, it's Mairid, and when you address someone, that first letter changes with the H and it goes to a Viorid, so it ends up sounding kind of like Violet.
Yeah, that's nice though. And of course, Barrett would spell it correctly, I think.
I'd actually love to see such a name hit the list. Starla and publishing, do such feminine names push through? Good question. I like Barrett's idea of a pen name. Starla and a pen name if you were writing in a different genre.
Yeah.
That's kind of a neat idea.
I have actually thought of it because there are some other places I want to go. Like, I'm going to do epic fantasy next, but I think it's close enough to fantasy that I'll keep it. My current pen name.
Yeah.
And I've thought about trying romance fantasy because that is like really growing right now. Mine would be definitely fade to black screens.
That's my books.
So I don't know if I'll be able to fit in there, but if I did that, maybe a different pen name on that one. Even though it's fantasy, it is kind of different with having the romance in there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I know.
Brownie point for Barrett. Thank you, Barrett.
Yep.
Nice. Kurt's great. So speaking of romance and that thing, how would you approach a spicy scene? So if you don't have many books, you don't have to answer. How would you approach it in writing it? Because I think in mine, I definitely, beforehand, while I'm writing, I was thinking, if my family reads this, right? There's that immediate debilitating step. But then you're like, okay, well, what does the story need? Block that out, block out the inner editor, and try to do what the story needs, and then come back and edit. What about fantasy? Is there additional stuff clogging up your brain when you're writing like a sexy scene or a love scene or anything to consider that you think is unique?
For me, I do the fade to black, but only because something my editor said stuck with me. Jenna, there's plenty of really bad written smexy time scenes out there. Do you really want to risk dragging your book down into that muddle? Keep with your battle scenes, girlfriend. I'm like, okay, so I'll lean into what's good. When I do sit down and write them, because there are a couple that got deleted from books 1 and 2. Anyway, setting up for them in a fantasy world can be really difficult when there's a war going on. We'll put it that way.
A certain author we mentioned doesn't find that hard in the least.
No, she doesn't. I have yet to master that skill. So at least for this series, my first series, I won't be putting them in there. Maybe with my second series, we'll see. ? It depends on what beta readers say.
Sounds good. Shanon, thoughts?
Okay, so I like Jesse, Eva, and Barrett, they both said, approach it with a dirty mind. So to get myself in, I'm going to reveal something. To get myself in the mind frame for this, nothing goes on between me and my husband for a little bit. So that I can be like in a dry spell.
If the Cheesecake Man hears this, you didn't hear that. That doesn't happen on this end, I promise.
Because when I start approaching the love scene, I want to be able to feel like all those emotions you get when someone touches you, which if you're, being touched all the time, you're just whatever. But, you get the goosebumps. If it's been a little bit, you start getting goosebumps and stuff like that. So I want to be able to feel those emotions so I can put that in my scene. Man,
that means I should jump into that with 2 feet then.
Oh my goodness. But I would say when it comes down to a love scene, anyways, it's 2 people. Well, it could be more than 2 people, but mine are so far 2 people. And I think whether it's fantasy or whatever, you're still having that connection between 2 people. So are you guys laughing at the comments?
Wait a minute. There's Authortube fan fiction. Eva, wait a second.
Okay, let's catch up.
Yeah, she said she was starting one.
Stuff. Okay, so we had a question about pixies. What are pixies? Where do pixies fall in the lore you use for your stories? Are they a thing? And to me, they're like small Tinkerbell size little people fairies. And I get less about them in most like adult fantasy. What about you guys?
Do you divide a pixie from a puck? ?
Puck is a proper name rather than
He can be a trope too, is why I ask.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you differentiate them, yes. If not, no? ? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, Barrett. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is it a fine line? Is it a continuum?
I think fairies are more inclusive because you can get like full-size ones, whereas pixies are normally associated with the mini size, like, or blue. I don't know why I think of pixies as like blue sometimes. I don't know.
Maybe blame.
I don't know.
Do you see them
pixies.
in?
What's that?
And I haven't read anything with them, but in the Irish mythologies, the fairy, but it's spelled with an E instead of an I. Those are what the Tuatha that's what they become, are those small size fairies.
Right, because they went underground and, they were overrun by all the big idiots that followed.
Malaysians.
Yeah. Eva says she's asking the pros to find out about dairy stories, magic cows, which made us all giggle. But yes, tell us more about the Authortube fanfic, because I think I'm behind on that as well. Just the one scene. She just cut off her husband for sex for a bit, and that's just the one scene. I don't know. I think that's a resourceful. Sorry, my thing's being slow and not scrolling. Dry spells. What's that? He says. Oh. Are we the drama?
Now, Barrett. Now.
Oh my goodness. Eva's the drama, yes. Eva says, Authortube was drama-free until I popped in with Authortube fanfic comments. So what does it mean? Authortube fanfic. Does that mean we're writing tales about each other?
That's what I was wondering.
It's like mentioned one time.
The next flash fiction is where we're going to start writing Authortube fanfic?
Because I think like anime and video gamer fan fiction, and those aren't always very good.
Okay, we've got Coven Magic. What else is happening here? The Write-In Retreat, where the content creators of blank come together for panels, awards, and networking. Huh.
And we notice how in is spelled.
Yes. Okay. Publish it on Gossip Guru. Hey, that's an idea.
Yeah, I saw this discussion in another chat somewhere.
Must be.
Oh, okay. I missed this one. So yeah, all right, cool. All right, so last few questions. Okay, last genre question. How do you make your protagonist feel real in such a fantasy world? For me, when I read fantasy, it's an escape, but I also want the characters to feel really human. They're struggling with the same things. They're struggling with identity and love and competing responsibilities. So how do you do that in your writing to make your characters feel relatable?
In my series, I give my characters, I forgot the word now. Give them something to grow from. They have Jenna, if you know what you're going to say. I forgot what else.
All right, honey. For me, I try to mimic life. Life goes up and down. And you leave them out of this, sir. Anyway, at the same time, as I was saying, you gotta throw them into the frying pan and see how much they're willing to struggle to stay in the fire or get out of it. Because I'll admit, I have one crazy character who'll be like, bring on the fire. And all the others are like, okay, we're done. We've had enough. So, I guess it kind of depends on knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your characters and what their limits are and testing them.
Emotional wound. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. So yeah, I give my characters an emotional wound. So that's how I try to, not everyone's going to have the same exact emotional wound, but I think it should be part of the human condition enough that we would understand that would be something traumatic to deal with. So.
And with the Fae, it can be from like 400 years ago, and they're still nursing that grievance, right?
Yeah.
Or something their dad did to their mom gets back at them 500 years later.
Yeah. Oh man, I have a friend who wrote a retelling of The Children of Lear, and I'm trying to get her on a show, and it was really good. It was really good. It made it more realistic. I read that in a tale, and it was boring as. But then I read her version, and I was like, this is so much more like real people. So good stuff. I had a question about parallels with historical fiction.
Quiet, Daniel. He's bringing up stuff in chat he shouldn't. So ignore the man with the D Cody stick.
Okay. Okay, do you see parallels with historical fiction? So you're in fantasy. I read fantasy, but I'm a historical fiction writer. And do you read historical fiction? Do you see parallels? Because 2020, Yola Book Afloat, I had a panel with a fantasy writer, and we talked about the parallels because the world building is basically just as involved to recreate a past scene as well as a fantasy scene or setting, And so we had fun talking about that. But what sparks in your mind when you hear that?
Oh, okay. So I actually have an overall war that's happening from book 1 to book 3. Although book 1, it's not really brought in too much. It's just a couple lines that hint at the beginning of the war, which if you don't know of the war, then you wouldn't know what it was getting at. But it was the last war that was put into as part of the mythological cycle for the Irish mythologies, right before it hit the historical actually background. However, they do think that this war happened, and they don't. Of course, they discount like there's druids, there's a dragon, there's all kinds of stuff that happened during the war. So like we know this king probably existed, we know this war probably happened, but probably without all the magic. So I'm using that war and the magic for my purposes.
Got it. Okay. Nice.
Kind of similar here. My alliance is literally at war against extinction. The Hunters Guild are the humans trying to destroy them. So we have that vampire versus hunter trope going on in my books as well. So yeah. Same answer.
So like relatable to now. That's relatable to contemporary, not historical.
My books are a little social justice-y because of the time period too. So my leading lady is BIPOC and Queen of the Immortals because it's a matriarchal system and it's 1665. Do I need to say more? In London is where you start, 6065. So big overlap.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you 2 more questions, which are your primary platform, where you want people to find you. So I already dropped your YouTube channels in the banners and in the description, but is there a place you hang out the most that you want to interact with people? And an Authortuber you want to collaborate with? Give us a pitch. So primary platform and Authortuber to collaborate with next, your dream list. Why don't you go first, Shannon?
Oh, okay. So I am most active on this platform. I really don't like the other platforms. It's just, I think someone had sent me a message through IG yesterday. It was supposed to be before our CGL, but like I checked it earlier in the day. So I check it like once early in the day, usually, and then once at night.
Healthy.
Yeah. I only get on Facebook to post things about our self-publishing tips and tricks. So, and anytime I have a video, I also post it in the Authortube Facebook page, which, by the way, I posted this in the Authortube Facebook page. So I also posted this in the Discord group. I don't know if you know of the Discord group for Authortubers. So
I didn't even know there was a Facebook page.
Yeah, so. I posted it also in the Discord group. So I get on Discord to do that. I get on Facebook to do those couple things, and that's about it. I don't like Twitter. Every time I get on there, I try to heart all your stuff, Margaret, but I know I'm always late. So yeah, YouTube. This is the platform I'm mainly on.
Woohoo! Yay!
Oh, and then the Authortuber I would like to collab with. And you said like wish list. This is an Authortuber who's not really. She's not been active in the community. Her video for her goals for this year is to get more active in the community on YouTube. I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know but I would love to do a collab with MK Williams. I think she's awesome. So yeah, I really like her. That would be my dream collab.
Very cool. Thank you. And Jenna.
I am very, very much the IG addict because that just happened to be the platform that my books took off on over the course of the last year of being published. I'm trying to stabilize my YouTube channel to get a schedule of producing things out that actually lets me still teach full-time and do the author gig full-time. As far as dream collab, I kind of hinted at one that might not ever happen anytime soon because I can't afford to pay him, but I would love to hear Colin Clark read my battle scenes. I mentioned that a couple times. Realistically, I think I would like to find someone to get into teaching me to do live streams. So anyone looking for someone to learn the ropes of like doing productivity, editing, writing live streams, come at me. I need a buddy.
Okay.
I need someone to teach me to get me out of my anxiety shell.
Are you free on Sundays?
I teach. What do you think? Yes. I've been meaning to come by more often. The only problem is on Sundays tends to be the day that Cheesecake Man and I, that's our one day a week off together. So if we got to go out of town, it's Sunday. So
got it.
That would be the reason why I haven't been able to come over since, or because of holidays and stuff. So.
Okay. Well, I just started. I've only done one, and we had a Zoom bombing happen. So I'm planning on doing it every other Sunday, having a Sunday StreamYard tutorial and just having people drop in and ask questions or, come into the studio and demonstrate things and whatnot. So that is something I've definitely learned over the pandemic 2 years span. And that's what I do for my volunteer gig and tech host for pay. So I'm definitely up for that.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah. Shannon Eva said, I hope MK sees this and it happens. Send her a message. Worst case, she says, no, nothing has changed. Oh, you've already responded. I've never seen her do a collab with anyone, but I'm hoping I'll see her engage and do collabs, and then I'll ask. She only needs less than 50 subscribers on YouTube.
To get my channel name not to be the gobbledygook. Yep.
Oh, got it. So you need more, yeah.
Yep. I saw that.
Spoiled, aren't we, Eva?
Devin's amazing. In several other live streams I've visited, always they're sharing the links.
Yes. And just in case you wanted to know more about these ladies' personal information, they've both done interviews with Mr. Barrett Lori, which someone on this panel has not yet done. So, but might be happening soon. So I'll post the link to those videos in the chat because give them a long tail of viewing time. They're great. I watched both of them a month ago and 2 months ago. They're great interviews. They went into more depth about the background and life story of these writers, whereas I have just gone into the genre and the fantasy end to just give a little bit different flavor. But that is who? What are we? What?
Who? What? Why? We love you. We love you, Eva.
Thank you, Eva. Oh, you guys are fun.
I was just laughing a second ago.
Yes. So I popped those in the description too if you missed those interviews with these ladies. But I think we're about out of time today. So thank you guys so much for coming on to talk about a little more the fantasy and the genre mashups and the source of all the wonderful traditions. This is our nerd jam, as I don't know. That doesn't really go, does it? Nerd jam.
Well, my friends call me the quintessential lady nerd. Welcome to the tribe.
There you go. All right. Quintessential Lady Nerd Club. Here we go. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will see you again soon. Probably see you at the writer retreat happening this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 8 to 10 in the Eastern time zone. So thanks for coming by, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.